Beth, you still there?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, Beth.
Hi.
How are you? You okay?
I'm great.
Well, Beth, welcome to the Doris Hall James Indie Show, or the DHJ Indie Show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you so much.
And thank you for accepting my invitation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You know, it's good to meet new people. This podcast allows me to meet new people every single week, you know,
Oh, wow.
and it opens up a world of live entertainment for me, you know. Now, before the pandemic came, I used to do, I did a lot of live interviews, the Philadelphia and Jersey area. But because of the pandemic, it allowed me to be able to reach out all over.
Even more now. Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's really a good thing.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that we're getting a chance to connect, because I've heard so many good things about you, and I've watched your videos. Girl, where do you get all that energy from? Where do you get that?
You know what? I think part of having energy with what you do is loving what you do. And I love what I do so much. I love to sing. I love to perform. I love people. And I love being able to create. So it makes me so happy to do it. And I think that's where the energy comes from. I just feel like a kid on Christmas morning. You know, every time I get a chance to shoot a video, or every time I get a chance to perform, it's just really exciting for me, and it's energizing for me, because I'm able to just work in my full capacity of expression of what I love. And so I love it so much. And then being in the gym, I stay in the gym. I'm a gym rat.
Yes.
That's part of it. You know, I didn't like the gym at first. I was one of those people that thought the gym was unnecessary, until I got in there and I started seeing the results and feeling the results, and seeing how that added to my performance, added to my endurance, added to what I was able to give more of. I was able to give more of me to the audience and to my performance. So yeah, just a combination of those things, loving what I do and working out. So yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because like I haven't been, you know, I would go to the gym all the time, but since the pandemic came, you know, I blame everything on the pandemic. You know, I kind of shy away from the gym, and I just try to make my gym at home, you know, but it's nothing like the gym. It's
nothing like it. And I've had several people, you know, sometimes I'll post videos of me working out at the gym, and people will call me, "You're at the gym, it's a pandemic." And I said, you know, one of the things that has kept me so healthy during the pandemic is the gym, but you have to be careful, and we just have to move in a different way. I'm one of those people that keep my mask on in the gym, and I have a disinfectant bottle with me, and they pass those them, and I spray the machines down before and after I use them, and I work out, and then I leave. I'm not there to socialize, and I haven't had any issues, and I feel very safe. And the gyms are not overcrowded now. So actually, this is a really good time to be in the gym, because there's not a lot of people in there.
Okay.
So maybe you should go back.
Well, I will. I'm gonna get the nerve to go back. I gotta get the nerve, but maybe I went back a couple months ago, but I didn't feel. I think I was so scared I couldn't even work out. So maybe.
I wear a mask, and I have a towel. I take a towel with me. So sometimes if I'm running and I feel like I want to take my mask off, you know, I'll throw the towel over my head or something like that. But they space the machines out. People are very conscious of what's going on. Nobody gets on the machine right next to you. Most people spread out, or they'll wait. And so people are conscious of what's going on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Now it's obvious that you love to sing. It's obvious that, because when I listen to your music and all that, God has given you a lot of gifts. He's given you the gift of singing, he did the gift of performing, energy. He's done a whole lot of stuff for Beth. And so it's obvious you like to do this, but where did the passion come from? How did it all start?
Just wanting to do it as a kid. You know how when you're a kid and you see something and it sparks your interest and you're like, oh, I want to do that, or I want to try that. As far back as I can remember, I wanted to sing. I loved music. And
yes.
is inherited from my dad. So, my father was one of the funk brothers from Motown.
No,
Johnny
he wasn't, really.
Yes. So, being in the house with him playing music, him just being a natural musician, and he got it from my grandmother. And I never knew my grandmother. So I know that I inherited it through my grandmother, passing it down to my dad. And then my dad just playing, by the time I was born, Motown had left and gone to LA. So he was still just playing for different artists that would come to town. He had his own projects and his own music that he put out. He did his own thing. So I would just hear him playing piano in the house, and I wanted to do it. So when I went to school, I got in the band and I got in the choir and church choir, and I did everything music. It just pulled me in. And so it's just something natural I love to do. I think as I got older and I saw Whitney Houston for the first time, that was when I said, ooh, I can relate to her look and her sound.
Yes.
And that's what really made me feel like I wanted to do it.
Yes.
So it's all Whitney Houston's fault. But to want to do it full time and want to see myself on an album cover, it was her that really was that push.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Well, when I was a youngster, it happened to me the same way. I always wanted to be out there entertaining, and I just loved it. But for me, my motivation was Smokey Robinson.
Oh,
I used to see him on the stage, and I said, "Oh, I want to do what he does," And so I can understand you looking at an artist on the stage and say, "I want to do that, just what she does."
Right. Yeah. And then then you see the beautiful clothes, and then you see the light.
Gosh, yes.
So yeah, it was just a combination of, but to see a brown skinned woman, a tall brown woman, I could relate to that. And so I said, well, if she's doing it, I definitely want to do it. So yes.
So Beth, at what age did you start singing?
That's a good question, because I think when I was really little, my voice wasn't developed. So I don't think it was that good. But by the time I was told that I had something to work with, I think I was about 13 or 14.
Okay.
And that's what my teacher in middle school, junior high, told me. She says, "You have a nice voice." And I'm like, "I do? I didn't know." And I didn't even know, And then high school, I went to choir in high school. And then my teacher started working with me and said, "No, you can sing." I was like, "I can't." I didn't even know. And then I started to develop it more so in high school. And then after I graduated from high school and went to college, that's when I really was like, okay, I got something here. So I started gigging in the, bars and clubs and stuff. And I'm like, oh, they paying me to do this. I must be. So yeah, that's kind of what did it.
Well, did you have any professional training?
Later on, I did get a vocal teacher, and I still have a vocal teacher now. So, you can sing, and that you have a skill set, and you have talent, and then somebody's paying you. So you're not hurting anybody's ear. So then you decide, okay, let me start to find out the fundamentals and get some techniques so that I can take this and have some longevity with it. Okay. So yeah, I have my teachers, yeah.
Well, do you have I call it a musical or music team. This team consists of like producers and arrangers and booking agents. Do you have that team?
Yes, I do. So I have a manager,
Okay.
an incredible manager, Courtney Benjamin, for Benjamin Entertainment Group. I do have that. I do have producers that I work with. So when I first started recording music, I didn't really know what to do because I put my first album out independently, and I met a producer. He let me hear some of his music and I liked it. And so we proceeded to work, and that was like my first album. So in me doing my first album, that's when I started to learn more so and meet additional people. So now I have a couple producers that I pull from and go to when I want to put music out. I'll go to them, give them my ideas, or they may have an idea for me, and then we record it. So there's a couple of those guys. And then I do actually have a team. You know, I have assistants and security and marketing and all that kind of stuff. And it has
Good. Great.
But in the beginning, I did not have that.
Okay.
It was me, myself, and I trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's awful. That's awful. Well, do you, the type of song that you do, does that depend? No, let me rephrase that. Getting a producer or hiring a producer depends, the right producer depends on the type of song that you're recording.
Possibly. So what I've found, what I've learned is that there are several different producers. Some do one genre of music. Some only want to do certain types of music. And then you have other producers that can be more well-rounded, and you can tell them what you want, and then they will come up or create something for you. The producers that I work with tend to be very well-rounded. They can do anything that I want. But what I do is I try to stick with producers that know me, know my personality, know my voice, know my skill set, and then they'll push me to be the best that I can be or to deliver for that particular song. So I try not to just jump around to different people. You know, I have about maybe 4 or 5 that's it. Yeah, about 4. And just them, and I can go to them and tell them what I'm thinking. And they know me well enough, they know my voice well enough, they know my skill set well enough, where they can say, I don't think that's good for you to do, or this is what's good for you to do. So I try not to be the artist that produces themselves. I'm just an artist, and I try to go to a great producer that can produce me, but I can give them the idea that I want.
Well, that's great. That's great. Because you know your producers and you know what they can give you according to, you know, what you want to project. So you know your producers, and that's really well.
And I trust them.
You trust them. That's good. That's a good word. Yeah.
That they will push me to be my best. If something is not right, they'll tell me it's not right, or don't do this. You know.
Okay. Well, of all the genres of music you do, you did something with Swifty McVeigh.
12, yes, rapper, yes.
So with all the different genres, which one do you like the best?
I'm an R&B girl. You know, I love R&B.
I'm gonna clap for that.
Yeah, I love R&B, but I love hip hop. You know, I love rap. And so what made me do the song with Swifty McVeigh is I love West Coast funk. I love Snoop and Tupac. I love that music. And I wanted something that had that kind of feel. And I love 90s music. You know, that was the 90s when it came out. So I wanted something that had a funk sound reminiscent of that time. And even my second album has a very 90s influenced sound to it. I love the music of that time. So when we came up with Got Next, I went to my producer, told him, Marcus Divine is his name. I told him what I had an idea, what I wanted to do. And he came up with that track, and he worked with me and said, hey, we need to get a rapper on there. And he called up Swifty McVeigh, which happens to be a friend of ours. And he came on the track. So, you know, it's a collaboration, but it's also, it has to make sense. and I have to trust the producer to bring in all of the correct elements to make the song be successful.
Okay, and that was a good presentation that you and Swift put together.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that.
Thank
So
you.
that was really awesome that you did.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you like R&B. Well, I wish I knew the name, but I can't remember now. But March 5th, they're having a national R&B day. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And when I say they, I don't have the paper in front of me, so I can't. I think the lady's name is Beverly, but I don't know her full name. But
Okay.
they're having a national R&B day, March 5th. And what they're trying to do is that it's a day for everything. Like it's a day for jazz, it's a day for gospel, but it's never a day for R&B. And they're trying to keep R&B in the limelight. They don't want it to die out. So March 5th, like I said, they're having this day. And Simply Music, which is the company that I represent, along with Philly Live Radio and the Indie Show, we're going to participate in that because we don't want R&B to go either.
That's right. That's right. It doesn't need to. R&B, rhythm and blues, soul music, that is the heartbeat of Black America, actually, of Black people. You know what I'm saying? And so we can't let that go, because that is the sound rather, that motivates us. That's the songs and the sounds that move us. Those are the songs and the sounds that soothe us.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the songs that we go to, and the sounds that we go to that are familiar to us, that remind us of our childhood and remind us of good times and bad times. Like R&B and soul music is just a heartbeat of Black people. And so we need to fight to keep that alive. I love that you guys are doing that.
Yeah. And it takes me, like when I listen to it, it takes me back. I remember a lot of things that happened during that time on that particular song. I love the chord changes on R&B. I love the whole thing. I like the soul that's put in it.
Yes.
I'm with that all the way. It's March the 5th. And that's when it's going to be on. I'm going to text you so you can connect and see what we're doing here in Philadelphia. Okay.
I would love to. Thank you.
Yes. Now, how many hours would you say a week do you put in? Okay, be honest, with the performing and the videos. About how many hours and rehearsals?
It just depends. It depends on what's going on. If I have something coming up, then we will increase the time that we work to rehearse and to develop and to structure a show. I have a show coming up next week. I will be rehearsing all week. If I don't have anything coming up, then I will be in the studio and I'll be probably recording. Yeah. And it, the time that it takes, I can't put a cap on it. We go in and we get the job done. So, what it takes, because that's my job. So I get up with the mindset of I'm going to the studio and I'm going to record, I'm going to create, I'm going to write, I'm going to do something. So, on average, I may spend 5 hours a day there. Mm-hmm. I still, I have to come home, I have a family, but I get up and I do go there and create.
Okay. Well, how many, because of the shutdown, because of the pandemic, are the performances still, are there many performances, or how are you handling that?
In 2020, there were no performance. I think I did maybe one. I think I did one in 2020. I did, we had a Detroit Music Festival that was outside. So I did that in 2020. In 2021, I worked the latter part of the year. I actually went out on tour with Najee. So we had I did maybe 10 spot dates with him. So it's not really a tour, but we did those shows. And I also worked with Kim. So I did a couple shows with Kim as well. But that was more so the latter part of 2021. 2022, there are more performances coming up. And I just think people are playing it by ear.
Yeah.
They know. Mm-hmm. there's a lot of tours going on. I'll be on tour the end of March, beginning of April into mid-May. So we'll, play that by ear. Like I mentioned, I'd sing background for Kim. So there's a tour going on. The Full Circle Tour is the name of it. And that's Kim and Babyface. So we'll be on tour for maybe about 6 weeks. And there'll be some other dates for me in the latter part of 2022. I'm farther along. And then I have a show Saturday coming up for this upcoming Saturday on the 12th for Valentine's Day weekend. I'll be doing a show with the legendary Peebo Bryson. So things are up, it's just, you just kind of see what's happening. You just kind of wait and watch and wait. So,
Well, Beth, let's talk about the artists that you just mentioned. Let's talk about Najee.
Huh?
Okay, so you did some background work for him?
No, actually, I don't do background for Najee. He is very generous, and I come in as a featured artist with him.
Yeah, great. Okay, great.
So he has a beautiful song called "Hard to Let Go." That was on one of his earlier albums, and I'll sing that song. And then there's a song on my first album called "Free," and then I sing that song in his show as well.
How is he to work with?
He's great. He's one of the nicest artists that I've ever had an opportunity to work with. We met and I think I did 2 shows with him. And then I was like, I would love to go out on the road with you. And he said, okay. And
okay.
Mm-hmm. And he took me out with him. So it's been great. That was 2021. Hopefully he has some dates that I can do with him in 2022. We haven't gotten to that part yet because I have to get past the tour that I'm doing with Kim starting at the end of March. And then we'll see what the rest of 2022 holds. But I had a great time working with him. And I'm just grateful that because I asked him, he said, okay, and took me. Had a lot of fun.
Okay.
And I've been with him 9 years. So
I've been
with him 9 years. And so it's been with him. Prior to Kim, I did 5 years with Anita Baker doing background. So I've been doing this for a while, and I just have a great time working with the different artists and learning and developing. And that has influenced me to be a solo artist because I've had a front row seat working with these incredible watching navigate through a tour, watching them interact with the audience, watching them grow and develop. I've just had an amazing time. So I was like, let me try and see if I can do it.
Well, now I want to ask you a question. Maybe you want to think about it for a minute, but what did you learn or captured when you worked with Anita Baker?
I think the most important lesson that I learned is that being a woman and handling your own business is intimidating to people. And you have to be very strong, and you have to be certain of what it is that you want and don't want.
Okay.
And certain on how you're going to run your business. I had a front row seat, like I said, watching her navigate with her band, watching her navigate with her background singers, because it was 3 of us, watching her handle different situations. We traveled a lot internationally. So I just had a great time watching her go through a show, how she finessed performing her songs through a show and how she delivered and interacted with the audience. I mean, it was just great. And being able to compare what she does as a woman compared to me watching Kim as a man. Yeah. And so I got the best of both worlds because I've been able to see 2 dynamic artists, and I can pull from him and I can pull from her. And you'll see Beth. I mean, I've had people tell me that they see me perform and I remind them of Anita, or I remind them of Kim. And because I've watched these people, and not on purpose, but right, you're gonna get some influences from them. I've had just incredible time watching them both.
Well, now, how was Kim to work with? I guess he was really great because you stayed with him for 9 years, right?
Yeah, I'm still with him. I love working with him. Nice, great guy, nice guy. Very talented. And it's been great because when I started working with Anita, she had already won 8 Grammys and she was already international, already, superstar. She hadn't even put an album out and we were just working nonstop on her, music she had already put out.
Mm-hmm.
With Kim, I'm with Kim and I've been able to watch him grow and watch him put out new albums and record background on some of his projects. So it's a different thing because it's one thing when you come in with an artist that's established and they're a superstar already, and then you come in with an artist who is growing to superstardom, and that's great because I came in with Kim and he was not opening. He was not necessarily opening, but he wasn't the headliner. Right. Now we're going on a tour and he's the headliner. So I've been able to watch that progression and that growth, and it's incredible. I'm so happy for him.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, you had a lot of hands-on experience from good, great people.
Yes,
I can see why you're so good, because when I look at your videos and stuff, I said she is great. You are great, full of energy. You can sing, you can dance. I saw some dancing going on there. So you're doing a lot of things. So working with all of them, it just made you grow and grow. You're just growing and growing and growing. You're doing such a great job. You're doing a great job. Now tell me about some of these songs. First of all, do you write your own songs? Are you a songwriter?
Write them or I co-write them, and I don't mind somebody bringing me a great song. If it's a great song,
okay.
It doesn't have to be mine. But some songs I do write, some of them I don't. If it's a good song, it's a good song. So, like, is there a song in particular you're asking me about?
Oh, no, I was just thinking. I was just listening to your songs and I said, I wonder if she wrote any of those songs, because, like back in the day, we had those little, okay, I'm going to tell you what we had, those little 45s and those little 78s. We had all those. And on the, the record, we used to call it, they had who wrote the songs and all that. Right. It's not like that anymore. So I couldn't tell, who wrote what.
Being able to read the back of an album, see everybody that participated in that project. So for one of the songs, let's talk about the videos that I did. So Free, I did write Free.
Okay.
Got Next, I co-wrote Got Next with the producer Marcus Divine, and Swift wrote his own part. I Just Want to Be Your Girl, I did not write that. That was written by Michael Powell, and that was originally released over 30 years ago by Chapter 8 with Anita Baker singing that song. So Michael Powell and the group Chapter 8 is who originally put Anita Baker out. And that's how I met her, is through Michael Powell, because they remained friends. And he took me to her, and that's how she ended up hiring me as a background singer. So he has always been a mentor and a coach and a friend to me. And he suggested that he was one of the people that suggested that I go out and be a solo artist. So when I did say, okay, I'll give it a stab, I'll give it a try, he asked me to remake that song that he wrote. And I was intimidated at first because I'm like, the Baker sang this song. Like, I'm not going behind the song that she sang. And he was like, well, I really want you to do it. And I recorded it. He took me in the studio. He produced my version, as well as the original version. And I love it.
Yeah, well, I listened to, first of all, the song Free. I have to tell you, I love that dress.
Oh, thank you.
That dress. You look so awesome in that dress, so I love the lyrics. When you said something about, let's see, I learned how to guard my heart, and try to think smart or something. I thought that was a good group of lyrics right there.
No,
So I really love that song. You did a great job on that.
thank you. That song was really something that just really kind of poured out of me and my true feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I learn how to guard my heart, love, and still think smart. Because sometimes you get in a situation where you're so in love, you can't focus. You make bad decisions because you're focusing on love. And at the same time, you're protecting your feelings. And so that was one of those things where those words just kind of came out. I was just thinking about situations like that. You're so in love, and we've all been there. You're so in love, you can't see straight, you're doing stupid stuff, and then your nose is wide open, and then it's a terrible situation. So I guess as we mature and we develop and we have relationships in our life, we learn how to, when you get into the next relationship, how to have a little more wisdom. You know, but I'm going to protect myself, and I'm going to think about this, and I'm going to make sure, you know, I govern myself accordingly and not just be so happy to be in love that you act a fool. And that's what that line is. So thank you.
Yeah. And you said, no more crying as of today. They're really meaningful. And when you think about it, that's that R&B influence, because it takes you back about what you probably did, at that time. And you think, this song, I can relate to this song because this happened to me, and you just sit back and you just listen and listen and listen. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the song. And I just want to be your girl. I like that because it said something like, no matter how long it takes, I'm willing to wait, or I got time to wait. So tell me about that song.
Yeah, that song, actually, Michael Powell wrote that song.
Okay.
So the video that's there is just a snippet of the song. So the whole song is actually on my first album, Free. But that song was originally done by Chapter 8 and sung by Anita Baker. So that's just a remake of the song. And those are words that Michael Powell wrote. I just want to be your girl, no matter how long it takes. I've got time. I'll wait. I just want to. So song.
Yeah, that's good. You got a lot of good things on there. Now, how about the Motown Hitsville? Tell me about that one.
So
that was one of my favorite songs back in the day.
Yes, that's a great song, and it was an honor to sing it, and it was an honor to be able to do it as a duet with my boss, Kim. So that was really great.
Okay, that was Kim.
That was Kim. So the thing about it is, it was, first of all, it was so many things I want to say about that. First of all, my father was a funk brother, so he worked for Motown. So it was an honor for me to participate. It was an honor for me to sing with my boss, Kim, and for me to do a duet. It was an honor for us to open up the show. It was just a who's who of people for that show. Everybody was there. And we were honoring Motown with 60 years and honoring Berry Gordy. And I love Motown music. That's just a genre, because Motown, we call it a genre. Motown is R&B, it's early R&B, but it also is its own genre. Like, there's no other sound like it. And that's what it's almost a genre. And so for me to be there and to honor Motown, but also continue the legacy of my father, that was a great thing. My father has been deceased since 2002. So everything that I do, music related, I know that these are inherited. The music is inherited, and I'm carrying on my father's legacy. So I'm excited because I still work with Motown now. I work with the museum, and I'm honored to be able to do that, to work with them. And I love music, and I love the history of music, and I love Motown, and I love being able to carry on that legacy. So that night was just incredible. It was the 60th anniversary, and I was there, and I was opening the show, and it was.
Okay. Can you hear me, Beth? Yeah. Okay, because I love that. That was it? Ain't no mountain.
Mountain high enough. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to sing that.
Yep. It was great. I had a great time.
So that was the 60th anniversary, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. The 60th anniversary.
Motown was really great. It was Hitsville all the way.
It's nothing. There's nothing like it now. I don't think there will ever be anything like it in the future. And there was nothing like it at the time that Motown was, at that Motown sound time. Because there's Motown now, but the Motown now is not the Motown then. The music has changed, but there'll never be anything like it.
Yeah. Well, they were good times, and it's so good to hear that music. Mm-hmm. It's really, when it came on, I didn't know what you were going to sing, okay, until it came on. I just jumped right out the chair and started dancing. It was just so good to hear that song again. And that's what we want to do. We want to keep R&B going, because there's some good stuff back there, And a lot of the youngers, they don't know, but some of them do know because of their parents, because their parents played it and still probably play it now every now and then. I know when I was in school, when I was working, I had one student. I used to call him an old man. He was a student, can't be no more than about 16 or 17. And all he did was walk around campus singing all these old songs that I grew up on, right? And I would say, Henry, where did you get that song? How do you know that song? And he would say to me, Miss Hall James, my mom and dad played this all the time when we were little, and they're still playing this song. And he said, that's all I know. And he would have his radio and stuff up to his ear, and he'd be listening to James Brown and the Isley Brothers, that kind of stuff. He kept it in his head.
Yeah, that's good music. That's such good music. And that's a good thing when parents play that. That kind of lays a foundation for the kids, and the kids know what good soul music is. They know what good R&B is. So kudos to that young man's parents.
Yeah, Henry and his parents are really great people. Yes. Now you have another another, what would I call it, project that I really, really love to do. Okay. Write children books, right?
Oh, I do. I released my first children's book in October of 2021. It's called I Am Beautiful Inside and Out. And I'm really proud of that book. It was something that had been on my mind for a while. And, things kind of slowed down during the pandemic. So I was like, you know what,
That's good. Yeah.
I've been thinking about doing that. I just haven't taken the initiative to do. So that book came out in October, which is Anti-Bullying Month. And we wanted to do something to encourage young people, because, when you turn on the news, you're hearing about kids either bringing guns to school, or they're killing themselves, or they're,
Yes.
And it's such a sad time. I remember when I was a kid, it would be, if somebody was bothering you in school, messing with you in school, you come home and tell your parents.
Yes.
Your parents say, hey, if they put their hands on you, you know what to do, but ignore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we taught to ignore that, but to keep going. And kids now don't have that same I don't know what is happening, but they don't know how to brush it off or not internalize it and take it to heart. So they get depressed, or they bring a gun to school, or something like that. So this is it's a very easy read. It's for grades like 1 to 3. You know, I've done virtual reads to some classes for the book, but it's basically telling kids, if somebody's not being your friend and they're not treating you right and they're being mean, you go tell them so. But also know that you don't have to be their friend. You don't have to be subjected to that abuse and them teasing, being mean to you. You can go find some new friends that'll treat you nice. So we just want to do something simple. And I think if you reach children at a very early age, you give them a good foundation, and then they can take it with them as an adult. They could become productive adults. If you allow them to not know and learn to have a good foundation when they're little, then it turns into some mess, and then they grow up and they're messy. So
it's a mess. Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my book. I love it. I'm proud of it. I'm glad I did it. It's the first of a series of books, and the books are available on my website. And my website is bethalwayssings.com. So
I love that website.
Thank you. Go to the website, you can get the book, and that's the only place that the book is available for sale. And I'm looking forward to releasing the next books to go. I named the main character after me. So it's Beth the butterfly, Beth the caterpillar, it's Beth the butterfly. But I just wanted to tell a story and tell it in my eyes.
Yes, yes. And that's a book that, that maybe that daycare centers, they have children there, and in kindergarten, we can start them early.
Yes.
Reading, and they're the kind of books that you read them so that when they're getting ready to go to school, they have an understanding of expectations of how they should be treated.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that daycares and the kindergarten teachers and all those, get that book. And not only that book, they need to keep up with the series of books that you're going to put out.
That is correct. Yes. So I'm excited about the rest of the books coming out. They'll be out later in the summer. And we'll keep it going. But I'm really excited about it. I'm really proud of it.
Now, Beth, about your performances, how many more performances do you have, let's say before the spring?
I'm going on tour. So
that's right. You did say that. You did say that. You're going on tour.
The tour will be during the spring. And then after that, there's some more dates that we have. But right now we're just focusing on the tour. And so it'll be 26 cities.
Oh, wow. So you'll be gone a long time.
No, it'll just be about 6 weeks.
You're going to do 26 cities in 6 weeks?
Just about, yeah. It'll start the 1st of April. I think the first show was March 30th.
Okay.
And we're finished mid-May.
Okay.
That's about 6 weeks. Yep, 6-7 weeks. That's it.
Okay. All right. Well, what are some of your short-term goals?
Ooh, short-term. To keep my laundry done. My house clean. Those are short-term goals, because I have a home, I have to maintain my home as well. I'm a wife, those things. Those are my short-term goals.
Long-term?
My long-term goals are more music related. My short-term is more life stuff, just managing life. My long-term goals are to complete several other books. And I say several because it's long-term, because it'll take me a minute to do the additional books. I want to do maybe an autobiography, so that would be the literary side of my long-term goals. Music goals. I have a second album coming out in June.
Okay.
And I have a single coming out in March. And then I have a collaboration single that's coming out in April. Okay. There's a second collaboration, but I don't know the date for that either. So those are not long-term goals, but those are, I'm saying that to say my second album is coming out. And long-term, I want to do several more albums. I don't want to stop at 2. You know, I would love to have 10 albums under my belt, you know.
Oh, gosh.
Before I leave Earth. I would love to continue to record. Another long-term goal, I would love to star in a movie, a major motion picture movie, and also do the soundtrack for that movie. So I would love to write a movie, write a screenplay. You know, I would love to be on Broadway. I would love to have my own credits in producing a film and being behind the scenes and not just front. So there's a lot of things that I want to do. Long-term goals.
Okay. That
I see coming. It's just a process of me going through the process of getting them.
Okay. Well, your father, I want to just touch on this for a moment. He was a part of such a great thing when he was in. I mean, he was the motivation behind many of the Motown groups. They were the band behind the groups. We didn't hear much about them at that time. We were always into the groups and everything, but later on, we found out it was the funk band that played all those songs for the Spinners and all, you know, they were the ones behind that. So with that in mind, have you ever thought of doing something on your dad, like a book or something on your dad? There's so many things we don't know about them. I go on internet and I find some things about them, but maybe just think about it. Maybe that would be something interesting to do.
You know, the one thing that I do or that I've done to continue to honor my father is my father was an independent artist back in the day. He worked for Motown, but he also released his own music. And he was one of the first artists signed to Motown as a jazz artist. And then after that, he released his own albums under his own record label. So my music has been, I have my own record label. I've released my own music to pay homage to my father in that same way.
Okay.
So you know, in terms of doing something on my dad, I don't know if I would necessarily do that. If I did an autobiography, I would definitely include a lot about my father because he's been a huge part of me doing what I do.
Yes.
But you know, there's a lot about my dad I don't know too. So I don't know how much I could really do. It would be limited what I could do. He doesn't have siblings, you know, that are alive. So it is just me and my sister and my brother. And there's not a lot of family. So there's a lot that I wouldn't be able to really accurately tell. So the best thing for me to do is to just follow in his footsteps in the things that I do know.
Okay.
Which was the label, you know, I knew he did that. So I wanted to do that.
Okay. Now you've given a lot of people inspiration because you work so hard and you think as you go by, you don't just blurt out and do things, you think smart.
That's right.
And so someone who wants to be in the music, someone who wants to be a singer, what kind of inspirational words would you give them?
The first thing I would tell them is to not do it for the money and not do it for the fame and the stardom. Do it because you actually love to do it, because it's a lot of work. And, you know, it's a lot of work and you don't always get the money that you want or you feel you deserve in the beginning. You know, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have to get a lot of no's. You're going to have to get rejected, you know, and that doesn't feel good. And so you're going to really have to love this thing. So I would say first, don't do it for the money, do it for the love. Second, if you're honest and genuine about really doing it, surround yourself with people that you can learn from, and make sure that you're not going in the room trying to give all your ideas and talk. Go in there so that you can listen and learn, and always be coachable and moldable so that you can learn. And don't think that the first thing you do is the only thing that you're going to do. You know, I remember I got my job being a background singer. I thought I was going to sing a background for Anita Baker for the rest of my life. I had so much fun. And when that time ended, I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to do this again. How am I? And I had no idea that, and people told me this, and that's why I'm saying the same thing. If you're really genuine and good at what you do, other opportunities will come and present themselves. So you have to always be open and coachable and stay ready. You don't have to get ready, you know?
Yes.
And continue to be a student. Continue to be a student. Put yourself in situations that you can grow and learn and be stretched. And those are uncomfortable sometimes, but they make the best. They make you the best, you know? So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, I think that they're good words of inspiration, because we have a lot of youngsters that want to sing, want to get into show business, and they jump in it, and like they don't make the money, they don't know anything about the business, and it's just like, then it's just a down for them, because they think they're going to make the money and they're not going to make the money, or not right then and there, you know, and it's just a lot of hard work and disappointments. You know, so you have to be ready for it, and you have to make sure that this is what you want to do.
Oh, it's not, and you can't be blinded by the light and the cameras. You can't be blinded by Instagram. You know, you can't be blinded by social media making you think that you're a star because you're on there. It's so much more than that.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, do it because you love it.
Do it because you love it. But maybe one of these days you would consider coming to Philadelphia to do a performance, huh?
I would love to. If the opportunity itself, I have friends in Philly, so I would love to.
Yeah, you know, maybe we can arrange that. We would love to have you here and spread some of that energy.
I would love,
you know, talk to some of our youngsters who are planning to get into entertainment. We can make a real good thing out of it.
I would love to. I would love to come. Thank you so much.
And now, how can you gave us some information, but are you open? I always ask this here because I have a lot of youngsters who write songs and stuff like that. Are you willing to listen to some of that material?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has to be listened to, and it has to, and when you write something, you have to be open for it to be critiqued, and you have to be open for somebody to hear it. And you have to know, you may think it's the greatest song ever because you wrote it. But you cannot be upset if somebody listens to it and they don't like it. Because it's subjective, and it's not for everybody. You can't get personal if somebody says, well, no, I'm gonna pass on it, or I don't like it. You know, just today, I sat in the studio for probably 6 or 7 hours and worked on a song for an artist, a named artist. And my producer and I sat there, we worked on the song, we recorded it, I laid the vocals background, and he's in there twisting and turning knobs and buttons. and we're like, oh, that sounds good. And they were like, yeah, no, can you, and we don't like this, right? Hey, I didn't get mad. I didn't, you know, well, why don't they like the song? What's wrong with it? They didn't like it. You know, it's subjective. That's just like, and songwriters need to know, just like you turn on the radio and you hear a song that doesn't move you when you hear it on the radio, same thing. Somebody may hear your creation and it doesn't move them. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, so I would love to hear the music. I would love to hear new artists and up and coming songwriters. I would love to hear it, but they just have to know that they can't be in love with their music. They have to write a song and then you have to let it go.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. And I'm going to take this video and I'm going to spread it all around because it was such good information that you've given us. Let's have your website one more time and your email. Let's give that again.
My website is bethalwayssings.com, and you can find me also on Instagram at Beth Always Sings and Twitter, Beth Always Sings.
Okay. Okay. Well, Beth, I'm going to do my best, my very, very best to get you here in Philadelphia. So
I would love to.
Yes, I'm going to do my very best to do that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And thank you for coming on the show. Okay. DHJ Indie, we thank you. Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Okay.
Now, Beth, this is where I go.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.